Atlanta Press Club Debates 2008, the race for the 13th Congressional District, is brought to you from Georgia Public Broadcasting. Here's the moderator for tonight's debate.
Good evening. I'm John Pruitt, anchor for WSB Television News. Welcome to our 2008 election campaign debates originating from the studios of GPB. Now, this debate is organized by the Atlanta Press Club, and we also welcome our online audience at gpb.org. Now let's meet the candidates facing each other for the election in the 13th Congressional District. They are in alphabetical order: Deborah Honeycutt, a physician from Henry County, and David Scott, who declined the Press Club's invitation to debate. He is the Democratic incumbent from the 13th Congressional District, and he will be represented by an empty podium. Here is the format for tonight's debate. In the first round, Deborah Honeycutt will answer one question from our panelists. Each panelist will have a chance to address a question to Ms. Honeycutt. In the second round, Ms. Honeycutt will have an opportunity to ask a question of her absent opponent. And in the third round, the panelist will continue questioning the candidate. And finally, Deborah Honeycutt will have 30 seconds to make a closing statement. Before we get started, let's meet our three panelists selected by the Atlanta Press Club. First, we have Dick Pettis, editor for Insider Advantage. Next is John Hollis, a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And our third panelist is Duffy Dixon, a reporter with WXIA 11 Live. Now let's get started with the debate. In the first round, Deborah Honeycutt will have 60 seconds to answer one question from each panelist. Dick Pettis, you have the first question.
Thank you. You raised and spent $1.3 million 2 years ago, mostly from out-of-state contributors, to get just 31% of the vote. The bulk of that money went to your D.C. fundraisers and their affiliates. You seem to be following that same pattern this year, except that you've raised over $4 million and nearly spent that same amount. Aren't your contributors really just putting dollars in the pockets of your D.C. fundraisers?
Thank you for asking that question, Dick. And I really am so happy that I have gotten support from all across the country. As a challenger, first-time challenger, second-time challenger, you know it's very hard to raise money. So I am happy that I had a direct mail company that was willing to go out and help me raise the money needed to run this campaign.
But aren't you paying an extraordinary amount of money to that company for raising your funds? Aren't the people who are making the money off your campaign your fundraisers rather than you?
Actually, Dick, 1/3 of that money goes to our good old U.S. Postal Service just to get the direct mail out there.
Dick, you satisfied with the answer?
I've got another question along those lines.
We'll move down the line now to John Hollis, our next question for Deborah Honeycutt.
Dr. Honeycutt, given the high volume of bitter partisanship in D.C., never better illustrated than by the failure of the first economic package, bailout package to pass in Congress, the voters are just tired of partisanship and really want real change. Can you give me one example of how you would reach across the aisle, if elected, and get things done?
Yeah. Well, when elected, I will do the same thing that I do as a physician. As a physician, we have to work with all kinds of people, sometimes people that don't have the same idea about how to help solve a patient's problem as we do. That's when I say to someone, we have the same goal. Now let's see how we can work together to get to this goal for the benefit of the patient. Now it will be, we have the same goal. Let's see how we can work together to get to that goal for the benefit of the American people.
Can you give me one specific example, if you were in Washington, of what you would do to do just what you just said?
Certainly. Any issue that came forth that maybe my colleagues didn't agree with, but I knew it was good for the American people, I would be joining with those who were willing to work toward the solutions that would help the American people.
Next question now from Duffy Dixon.
I guess my question to you would be, what did you think of maybe not so much bailout number one, but the one that did pass, the second one? How would you have voted, and why do you support that it passed?
Okay, and thank you for that question, too. I would have voted no on bailout number one and no on the second time also. But now let me tell you the reasons why. There are other plans that were put forth by other members of Congress that would have affected help for those financial institutions without putting such a great burden on the taxpayers. Other plans that had more accountability for that money. So those are the reasons that I would have said no to each of those, but would have been looking for a better solution that would have better served the American people.
Did you feel, though, that time was of the essence? Do you think you would have voted? I mean, obviously, that was one of the criteria, that they wanted to get something passed because they felt like time was not on their side.
Mm-hmm. I believe that that was a misnomer that they had to rush to do it. Certainly, there was some urgency, but it didn't have to be rushed like that.
All right, that concludes round one of this debate, and now we move to round two, and this includes an opportunity for Deborah Honeycutt to question David Scott, who, as we've observed, is not here. But according to the format, you still have an opportunity to address your question to the empty podium and have a rebuttal.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, who is absent, I would like to ask you a question that people all across the district have asked me. And that question is, why you did not use your influence as a congressperson to bring together the stakeholders to help avert the loss of accreditation of Clayton County schools.
And hearing no response from Congressman Scott, you have an opportunity to rebut what his answer might have been.
Mr. Scott, it is certainly apparent that you are divorced from the community. You never come out to community forums. You never debate the issues that the people of District 13 say that they are interested in. Issues like education and school choice. Issues like the growing crime on both ends of the district. These are the issues that the people are interested in that apparently you are not.
Thank you very much, and that concludes our second round of questioning. Now for the third round, we return to our panel of journalists, and we'll begin this round with a question from Dick Pettis.
Given that you're paying a huge percentage of your campaign contributions to the people who raise the money, why should voters in your district think that you're trustworthy to make decisions for them about the national economy and steps to correct it?
Oh, thank you for that question. Voters across the district have said to me, we are so pleased to see that because of your values and your beliefs, that you have people all across the country who are willing to support you. $5 here, $10 here, $100 here, so that the people in the district are able to help me with their volunteering. Right now, they're over at one of the county offices and folding things for me, doing all of those kinds of things. They know that I'm making the best use of those dollars. And even though you have to spend money sometimes to make money, they see that what I'm doing in terms of the media, the radio, the people that are helping get signs out and all of those kinds of things, they are pleased and proud that I'm able to use the money in an efficient way.
Would you agree that the majority of your contributions come from people outside the district, people who can't vote?
I don't know. All I know is it comes from all across the United States.
Let's go to the next question now from John Hollis.
Dr. Honeycutt, you've mentioned your support for school choice. Given the situation with the Clayton County school system, the loss of accreditation and everything, and the effects it could have long-term both on the county and the students, would you support parents of that system in wanting to take their children out of that school system? And how would you pay for it?
Okay. Well, I support school choice for all school children. So in that particular instance, yes, school choice would benefit those children. Over 2,000 children have left the district on their own to go to other accredited schools. Certainly paying for it, the public school system already gets money for each and every child, and that can go to the parents in order that it can go to wherever the parents feel is the best educational choice for their children. And certainly that helps to kind of deburden the public school system while it gets itself together and while its board gets itself together.
A lot of the parents in Clayton County feel almost landlocked. They feel they don't have the financial resources or whatnot to take their kids to other institutions. If they were given that opportunity, given the resources to do so, a lot of them probably, you can expect a lot of them probably would. Would that signal the end, the death of the Clayton County school system?
Oh, certainly not. That would signal to the school system. Now we have the opportunity to put in some hard work. Let's get this accreditation done. Let's get it back, and let's show the entire county, let's show the entire state that our school system is just as good as any other. The kids aren't dumb. The kids are just as bright, and there's some wonderful programs in the school system there. But we have to get the school board, the parents, and the children together.
Thank you very much. Duffy Dixon, your turn to ask a question.
Ms. Honeycutt, you've said that you support health care for every American, but not a government-sponsored health care program. Can you explain what you mean by that?
When I look at health care today, I see two systems that are already government-sponsored, government-paid for, and government-run: Medicaid and the veteran system. Neither of them are working well. So I would shudder to think of every American under a system that's government-sponsored, government-paid for, government-regulated, and government-run. Every American certainly should have health care, but I think a public partnership with the government is the best. The government having some regulations to keep all the standards up. But we do need that private sector and the competition of the private sector to help us have the kind of healthcare system that I believe that Americans want and that Americans deserve.
So how does that work? I mean, who pays for it? I mean, in layman's terms, how would that happen?
Well, in layman's terms, it would happen where we would have government saying, here's some standards. We need to come up to these standards. And then working with stakeholders, such as even right now, IBM is working with the American Academy of Family Physicians to come up with good practices that are efficient and that give the kind and level of health care that Americans want. So it's bringing together the stakeholders to work out the details of the programs.
Next question now from Dick Pettis.
As a black woman and also as a Republican, are you conflicted at all about the candidacy of Senator Barack Obama?
No.
Who are you going to support in the presidential election?
You know, I'm really kind of insulted when people ask me that question, because underlying that is racism of, well, since you're black in America, you have to support a black man. I support the person that has the principles and the values that I believe in. Because on the other side of that is, well, every white person then has to support a white candidate. And I don't believe that.
You are a Republican and your party's nominee is John McCain. Do you plan to support him?
I plan to support John McCain, who has the similar values and principles that I have.
John Hollis, next question.
Dr. Honeycutt, on your website, you've called abortion a national offense. The United States Congress, of course, doesn't have a vote on who the next Supreme Court justice would be. But do you think their opinions on Roe versus Wade should be a litmus test as to whether they should sit on the nation's highest court?
I don't think there should be any litmus test for who should sit on our Supreme Court. I think we look at character, integrity, and their record, and that's how they should be judged, not on any one litmus test here or one litmus test there.
And we have time for one more question now from Duffy Dixon.
I noticed that you are a supporter of the fair tax.
Yes, ma'am.
And how risky is that coming out for that as a candidate, and why are you for that?
Okay. Well, the reason that I'm for the fair tax is having looked at various proposals for tax reform that have been put forth. I think the fair tax is the fairest and certainly the simplest for the American people, still giving the monies that are needed to run our government. Risky? No, I don't think it's risky. There is a growing groundswell, grassroots groundswell of Americans who are saying, read the book, read the book. This fair tax thing is a good thing, and it will be a thing that will help us to take our money home, do what we want with it, and only have to pay taxes on new goods and new services.
All right, thank you very much. We have run out of time for questions, so now it's time for closing comments from the candidates for the 13th Congressional District. We would like to remind you that David Scott declined the Press Club's invitation to debate. Deborah Honeycutt, therefore, will have her 30 seconds for her closing statement. Ms. Honeycutt.
Thank you. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a time that people would be judged by the content of their character. But unfortunately, even now in 2008, people are still judged by their gender, by their race, or by their political labels. Now, I want your support not because of the party label that's beside my name, but because I have a record of service in the community. I'm honest, I have integrity, and I'm willing to work for you to improve the life and the quality of life of all our citizens. I'm Dr. Deborah Honeycutt. Give me your vote, and I'll work for you in Congress.
Deborah Honeycutt, thank you very much. We appreciate your being here. We're sorry that Congressman Scott could not be here to exchange his views with you. But we will also thank the panelists for their contribution to today's debate. This does conclude our debate, and we'd like to remind voters that the general election will be held on Tuesday, November 4th. Our thanks to the candidates and to our panel of journalists. We'd also like to thank the Atlanta Press Club for arranging tonight's debate. And for more information about the Atlanta Press Club, you can visit www.atlantapressclub.org. Now, this debate will be archived on the Press Club's website. I'm John Pruitt. Thanks so much for joining us for this 2008 election debate.
This program was funded in part by a grant from the late Tom Watson Brown and by supporters of Georgia Public Broadcasting. Thank you.